Hey guys, it's Mrs. Mabry here. I am so excited to read you this story today called Spork. This story was written by Kyle McClear and the illustrations are done by Isabel Arsenault. As we're listening to the story, I want you to think about the big idea that the author is trying to teach or get across by writing the story. So just keep that in mind. What do you think the big idea is concerning this story? Think about Spork and his problem. Because remember, every character has a problem in a story that needs to be solved. Spork was neither spoon nor fork, but a bit of both. He had a mom and a dad who both thought he was perfect, just the way he was. But Spork stuck out. In his kitchen, forks were forks and spoons were spoons. Cutlery customs were followed closely. Mixing was uncommon. Naturally, there were rule breakers, knives who loved chopsticks, tongs who married forks, but such families were unusual. One day after the billionth time he was asked, "What are you anyway?" and the zillionth time he was passed over when the table was being set, Spork sighed, and thought, it must be easier to be a single thing. And he decided he'd try to pick just one thing to be. He thought he should start by fixing his head. He put on a bowler hat to look more spoonish, but the forks thought he was too round. Then he made a paper crown to look more forkish, but the spoons thought he was too pointy. Spork wondered if there were other lonely creatures out there with no matching kind who never got chosen to be at the table. At dinner time, he watched from the drawer while the spoons played pea hockey and skillfully balanced boiled eggs. He sat off to the side while the forks raked fancy patterns in the mashed potatoes and twirled noodles around in complicated circles like rhythmic gymnasts. And at the end of this and every other meal, Spork looked on while the others enjoyed a super bubbly bath in the sink. How do you think Spork is feeling? How would you describe his feeling right now? Until one morning a messy thing arrived. This messy thing had obviously never heard of cutlery customs or table manners. No, this messy thing smeared and spilled and flung and clumped and dripped without a care. "Wait," said the forks, but the messy thing did not wait. "Careful," said the spoons, but the messy thing was not careful. "Help," said the forks, while the messy thing continued to slop and splatter. "Quick," said the spoons. Now, a fork may be good for poking and picking, and a spoon may be fine for scooping and stirring, but this messy thing with its slurpy and clumpy half-finished food bits needed something else, something that could do all sorts of things at once, something flexible and easy to hold, something that was neither spoon nor fork but a bit of both. How was he starting to feel now? Do you notice how his face changes? His expression? That's when Spork landed. The messy thing saw Spork and immediately stopped and gurgled. Has anyone made a prediction on what do you think the messy thing might be? Remember, as we're reading, we always want to be thinking. So as you're thinking about what do you think that it might be, you're making a prediction. So based on what you know so far, that it's messy and it's throwing food and it's gurgling, what do you think it possibly could be? It grabbed Spork and held him motionlessness in his fist. It tapped him once and let out a cheerful shriek. It wagged Spork excitedly up and down. And that's how Spork finally and happily found his way to the table. Just a bit round, just a bit pointy, just right. So now that the story is over, I want you to think about what do you think the big idea that the author is trying to teach here. Hey, there's always a theme or a big idea that the author's trying to get across. And so I want you to think about one word that could describe the story, maybe the lesson that the Spork or the main character learned through the story. So think about one word that might describe this. I hope you really enjoyed this book. I loved it. I loved reading it to you, and I hope that we get to read together again soon. Bye, guys.